So we're in my living room today where my kitchen table is set up because I don't have a couch. Hopefully I'll be getting one soon. It'll be really exciting actually when I have a couch. Be like, just chill for the first time in my apartment in like a long time. I don't have a place to chill, so I just end up going from table to my stools over there to like my bed to there's nowhere to chill. So anyways, I don't know why I'm telling you that except for that I'm explaining why we're in this room that I thought that you guys would never see. Not because I didn't want you to, just because I'm trying to like be a little bit more private with my like things. But anyways, we're here today in my weird corner of my dining room, living room thing because my bed is unmade because I made I washed all of my sheets and I just haven't gotten around to putting it on. I was trying to beat the clock when it comes to the sun going down. So anyways, the lighting might change. I'll try to get the story out in a decent amount of time today because we are fighting against wintertime lighting. So it's 3 o'clock and it's on Thursday. So tomorrow you guys will see this, but we're going to carry on a little bit with my story on how I transitioned from the travel company. I was the product manager, and how I thought that I was doing a really great thing by moving to a much bigger company. This was a small company that I was moving from. I think they had tops like maybe 12 employees, and that's like kind of like pushing it. So I was doing really well there and I was excelling because they gave me like a lot of autonomy and they gave me like a lot of like responsibility, and I had a lot of the behind the scenes kind of tasks, and they let me just explore like and create, and they let me do a lot of things within the manager role that I found was really fun. And the things that were not so fun, it was like spread out enough amongst the other things that I enjoyed that it wasn't really a problem. I liked that. The only thing was I didn't think that I was making enough money. I was okay with what I was doing, but I wanted to make more money because like I still had all of my bills to take care of. This was the first time that like I wasn't being like evicted from my house or anything, but like I wanted to make more money and I wanted to do well for myself and I wanted to set my future self up. So at a smaller company, while they give you a lot of autonomy and it's like comfortable and it's tight knit and like you can influence things on a bigger scale than you can in a bigger company. You're like a big fish in a little pond. Your opinions matter. Because you're the department head in the department of like 2 people, right? So it's kind of like a good way to get your foot wet as far as getting into some sort of manager role, because it's not so like intense, because it's just under little amounts of pressure. Once you get to a bigger company, like the pressure is a lot more because there's a lot more competition for that role. And there's just a lot more people with the checks and balance system of like how good you're doing. There's more people to impress. There's more people that want your job. There's more people, just everything. There's more eyes on you, and there's more expectations to exceed expectations, because like a bigger company needs to make more and more and more money to support itself and blah, blah, blah. And they have more to lose, and therefore they'll fight to keep it, right? So if it's a publicly traded company especially. So in this industry, the insurance industry, I thought that I was transitioning to something that could help me build a 401k. That was something that was lacking in my previous job. So these are all the reasons why I thought it was responsible job switch. Like I wasn't going because I super loved insurance. I wasn't doing it because I thought I would be good at it. I was just doing it because it looked, I thought, good on paper for myself, for my future self. Like you're always gonna need people to be in insurance, health insurance, and it's number one, like good for you to understand how insurance works. So even if you work for like the lowest level for like a little while and you understand how insurance works, it like carries on throughout the rest of your life because you'll understand car insurance, you'll understand dental insurance. It's not just health insurance. Like once you understand how things are, then that helps you even if you don't have that job anymore. So like I got that, but I was trying to build a retirement, which the smaller company, the travel company they couldn't offer any sort of retirement or anything like that. There was no HSA, health savings account stuff. So anything that I had as far as medical or whatever qualifies for HSA items or whatever, I had to pay for that out of pocket after taxes. And so it was like a real benefit to have the HSA kind of situation come into place. And it was just like easier to afford the bigger things in life. Like there's the medical stuff is like pretty big. And so if you're paying a big premium at a smaller company, if you work for a bigger company, the cost of everything is spread out amongst more people. And so like you'll have less to pay for the major things that you used to pay for at a smaller company. Does that make any sense? There's more advantages, but there's also disadvantages, and I kind of ignored them. So we're gonna get into that. So I thought that I was going to build my retirement account, I was going to climb the corporate ladder, and I was going to be in an industry that I could potentially move anywhere, and you could get a job because you had insurance experience. I didn't tell you guys this, but in between one of my other jobs that I told you about, I did like a small stint as like a customer service representative at like a different health insurance. And any time that somebody called in, I had to look at what number on the screen popped up and then relay that to whatever like page that was in my cubicle that said, pretend that you are a representative from this company. I think they were servicing like 6 or 7 different companies, and you'd have to know based upon the phone number that was popping up on your screen to answer like this, versus you always answer one way. Hi, this is Michelle. I work at blah, 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 and how can I help you? Like, it was like, oh my God, there's a number calling in, and if I don't say the right company, this is gonna totally make me look stupid. So like that's the very first thing that like gave me anxiety. It's like not knowing which thing to like say, and like when you're first learning, I'm not good at memorizing stuff. I'm good at like learning through doing. So you have to memorize like a ton of crap, and it's hard because it's like on a timed phone line, and it's just like not my jam. Like it's like actually anti my jam. So I hated that job, and so I didn't last very long there. But at this new company that I left my travel company for, I made sure not to be put into the customer service representative area. But I didn't want that type of job, even though they're always hiring. Like, I just feel like you just get stuck there. You get good at being customer service, nobody else wants to do it, and it's like the lowest level of the job, but like everybody says it's the most important because that's where you learn. But like, I honestly think that if you're smart, you can learn any of those jobs. You don't have to start at the very bottom. And that was what like my idea was, that I didn't have to start from the bottom, and I was fighting my way above customer service as an in. So they put me in this department that is basically one level above that, or maybe even it's like similar, but it's answering the phone when a hospital or a doctor, like they call it the provider, when the provider calls, or the person who has the insurance calls to see if the insurance will allow this type of procedure. They're asking for like special permission or something, and special permission must be sought if that's written into their health insurance documents. So if you need to go to this specialist to go get some sort of MRI, you probably need, I forget what it was called. Maybe I should look on my resume. Should probably do that instead of just trying to wing it. But it's like prerequisites, pre-authorization. That's what I was. I was pre-authorization specialist, which is like haha funny because there was nothing me being specialist about that. So it was a level up from just being called to ask like hey, how, like, does my plan pay such and such amount if I want to get an IUD? Or, you know, like whatever kind of thing that somebody else would call for, like mostly dealing with customers. This was mostly dealing with like the provider's office, like the receptionist, and being like, hey, I have to get this pre-authorized. Can you like set up the pre-authorization and send it on its way to like the next department? So it was like learning that, which sounds really dumb because it is dumb. So I'm sorry if that's your job, but I found it not fun. And I found it really not great there. So I learned that the culture there, it was like a very big company in my state because it was like one of the bigger like corporations, and they had like several branches. And so it was like kind of a big deal, but not really a big deal because it was super easy to get in, because I don't think, just like customer service, I don't think many people want to work in pre-authorization department. So you have a mix of like really older people and then like freshly graduated from high school people that like have worked there for 3 or 4 years and didn't go to college, like that kind of thing. So there's a mix of like the types of people, but what they all had in common was they didn't ask questions. They just kind of like did what they were told. A lot of the people had no problems following the rules, and I am the type that's like wants to know why. I want to know why because I want to know if I can't memorize things like everybody else can and just not ask questions. So I should not have applied to a corporate job. I should not have applied to a job that like loves to follow the rules and make up the rules and blah, blah, blah. I should not have applied to a job that had a corporate culture from like when it was in its heydays in the 90s. Like people still wore their hair as if it was the 90s there because they'd just been there so long. They promoted from within. There was not a lot of opportunity. I didn't know that at the time when I first got there. So anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself, but basically I was trained up by this girl who was like at least 5 or 6 years younger than me. And I wasn't not listening to her because she was younger than me. I was not listening to her very well because she would just basically tell me like memorize this, and she wouldn't explain the rules why or why it came about this way. And so when you're answering questions from a provider's office on how a certain rule is applied on this particular thing that you have to do on this form, like I didn't know what to say, and it's embarrassing. It's like, I don't know how to explain this to you because I don't even understand how this works. Because people don't explain this to me. I just have to memorize this. And it's not like you have time to like, oh, can I just put you on hold and like tap into my computer and do this? You have to do this on a constant, like very fast level, because there's people in what's called the queue. And if the queue gets too big, it's like you have to, you know, it's like all this pressure. And anyways, it's just like everything that I hate. And I made such a big mistake. I think I made like not that much more money than I had at my travel company, but I had so much more anxiety going into this work. So here I was, I had my lower premium for my health insurance. I had like all these things that I was starting a 401k, and I was doing all these things that I thought were good for my future, but my current self was really, really unhappy, super unhappy. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like everybody didn't like me there. I didn't really make friends there because like I'm not really the type that like just stands outside and like goes to smoke cigarettes, or like that's one type of person. Or there's like cliques that all eat at the cafeteria together. I actually had some people that they were just super into cats, and that's fine. But they were super into cats, and even those people, like really into cats, like talked about fostering cats like for their entire lunch break because I overheard them talking about it, which is, that's a nice thing to do. But I'm just giving you the type of like the stereotype of those types of people. And they moved away from me when we were sitting at the table. They're like, I didn't even do anything. I just sat there, and they moved away from me to be amongst themselves. And I was like, God damn it. What the hell? Like, I can't find my like-minded people here. I think I have a little bit more college education than some of these people, or like, because I told you, like the people in my department were either fresh out of like high school, or they were like in college right now, or they'd been there for like 15 years. It was kind of like that. So there wasn't not a lot of like younger people who had just graduated from college and was like using this as a way to get their foot in the door. It was like they worked their way up to this. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's everything wrong with that for what I thought I should be doing. I knew that this was not what I wanted to be doing, answering phone calls from a provider's office and like filling out this online form and like, you know, sending it to like the claims, or like readjusting it for the claims. And like, it was just a lot of dumbass work that required a lot of memorization of things, and they don't give you a lot of time in order to like put that into your brain. But they also just don't, like, my teacher person didn't really know the answers because she never got the answers, because she was just like, okay, I will memorize this. Like, good for her for like, you know, excelling at that type of job. Like, there are types of jobs that suit everybody's personalities and their needs and wants. Not everybody wants to do their own thing. Like, some people just like to be told what to do. But like, I really learned that I didn't. Like, you see in all of my jobs, even the ones that at the bakery, I at a certain point of mastery of my craft, like, I would branch out and I would do my own thing. And then people would like see that I would do my own thing, and they would give me more power to do it. So in every one of my jobs. And so it was very important to me to have some sort of creative power, and to eventually find my own thing that I was good at within that company. And then they recognize that, and then I go from there. It doesn't matter where they put me. So that was kind of like what I thought that I could be doing. Like, I could show them that I was good at this, and then they could see that I have other skills, and maybe I could go do other bigger things like underwriting or something. Like something that like actually paid way more, but also like used your brain. Maybe I could research claims. Like, that could even be fun. Like, maybe I could, I don't know. I thought I demonstrated that I had like the ability to graduate from college and like I had the thinking skills and I had like managerial skills, but like none of that actually really mattered. They just were like, we need a warm body in this position, and I don't really care what you can do. There was no moving up, there was no moving out. There was just like, well, you're hired for this. And I'm not talking like in terms of like my first couple of weeks. I'm talking in terms of like, you're probably gonna be there until you're not. Like, I don't know. It was just kind of like that, because very quickly I learned that I wasn't not understanding the information from my trainer. So I was put with somebody else. I was put with like an older lady who had been there for much longer, and who was part of the decision-making process of how they did things. And so from her, I actually learned like how stuff had come about as far as making the rules. And then it kind of occurred to me certain things that I had to say when people asked. Like, I could actually explain it to somebody else because I knew where it came from. Obviously, I'm not going to tell them all the background, but I could explain to them the rule, and I could understand the rule now instead of just regurgitating it from my memory. I don't work very well like that. But so the younger people in my department all were kind of like very good friends. They were all from like, I think the same, like either high school or, you know, they went to a community college together or like whatever. They were all like kind of around the same age, from the same area of the state. And I was like this weird girl who was like challenging them. So before things got too bad, they gave me that new trainer. And so I would sit with the new trainer and I would learn, but like it was uncomfortable for me because nobody wanted to eat with me at lunchtime, and I didn't really click with the people who were sort of kind of in my age range. The only other people that were there were like the older people, and I was like, I didn't really have much in common with people like that. So it was kind of like lonely. And it was very weird to me because like I was really well liked at all of my jobs. I was really well liked at, especially at like the travel agency, where like we were all a tight-knit group, because the enemy was not our coworkers. The enemy was, well, if you want to call it the enemy, it was like the bosses who were like kind of mismanaging the whole company. So like we had a common goal and we had a common enemy, right? So like I was enemy number one there, and it was like really awkward for me because I was like, this is what I need and this is what you're not giving me. But most of the time people wouldn't even explain what they needed. Like they would just kind of like suck it up and like just do what they were told. And it wasn't like I was even trying to make waves. It was just like, I can't perform this job in the way that you want me to, because you're not doing it, you're not explaining it in a way that I can actually deliver. You're setting me up for failure. This is not how I learn. And I'm sorry that I'm causing you problems, and like I want to learn. But so yeah, so I did this whole weird dance of like learning, not learning, and then all of a sudden there was a period of time where my learning was put on hold. And I was given like extra weird tasks because the software that they had in my department for teaching had either been not renewed or something. They didn't have access to my software, and they couldn't like put me on like full-time by myself, like taking calls, because I didn't know enough yet. And so they really, like, I was in this weird in-between time where like they hadn't renewed the software, and so like it was just not available, or they were changing companies, or something was not right in my training. So that for a month of my training, after I kind of like did a little bit of training and like learned that I didn't learn very well with the other girl, and then I was put with the older lady. After that, like my software wasn't available, and so my training had to stop. And so you have to be trained up enough for enough hours for them to like write you off as like, okay, you can do your work. Like you can answer phones and tell the provider's office, or you can tell whomever that calls like certain correct things on this, because it's like kind of legal, right? So it's not like you just learn on the job. Like you actually have to like put in time and effort in order to like learn things. So, because it actually matters if you get it wrong. So like that was like the whole pressure of it too. It's like it mattered if you got it wrong, and it was very like timed. Getting really into like the weeds of like my actual job, but I want you to understand what it took for me to realize that I was not cut out for this. I was not cut out for following the rules in a corporate company. I was not cut out for any of that. It stifled me. It made me, I actually had like real bad health problems where I wouldn't sleep. I think this was the first time that I like, or the second time. The travel company was the first time that I had like a Monday through Friday job. Like all my other ones were like, you know, schedule you whenever. But this was a Monday through Friday again, and like I thought that I was building things, but it was like literally ruining my life. On Sundays I would get like the Sunday scaries or whatever, but it was like real bad. I'd get stomach aches and I would hate going into the work. And so when I came in and I was told that I would be like put on hold for my training, all of that anxiety went away. And so I was given special tasks. So I would sit there and I would research for the claims department. I would research in their database certain claims that were not processing correctly, and I would go through and I would like detective work style. Nobody had to teach me. I would just use the software, and I would go in and I would look up any way that I could figure out how to look up the claim in their system, and then see where in the process things had gone wrong. And it was really fun to do. And I had like this stack of things to fix for this person who had too much workload, and they would give me like little tasks, and then another department would give me little tasks. And so I did that for a month, and it was way more fun. I built like presentations for like nurses. I would be in contact with people who had way different jobs than me, and it was super cool. and I had the most fun. I stopped being sick. I stopped, you know, everything was great. I looked forward to work. You know, there was no anxiety about it. Even if I didn't know anything about what I was doing, it was great. They just left me alone. I just like researched on my thing, and I completed the tasks like way ahead of their time, and I did it really well. They were really impressed with me. And then their software for the training actually got renewed or whatever, and so my training could keep going after that. And so I like trained for like a couple more weeks, and I was just like, you know what, this is not it. So it was really hard for me. I had to go in one morning, and I took my trainer manager person to the side, and I was like, today I quit. Today is like awful. I told my dad, I think like on the Sunday before, because this was a Monday, I told my dad that I'm sorry I'm disappointing you, and like, you know, all you ever told me to do was just like find a good job or whatever, and here I was like basically like quitting for like what seems like no good reason. But like in the back of my mind, I just know that like it's not gonna go well. And before I quit, I had talked to HR about maybe moving to a different department, because I'd worked with the other departments and like it was much more fun. She's like, yeah, you can apply. I applied for like 10 or 15 jobs before, like during that process of time where I was given the special tasks. And so it was like a month that I tried to like find a different job for myself within that company. But that's what I mean by like, they don't really like it when you do that. They don't really like, because in their eyes, probably it like tells the other people who are not really happy in like the more difficult departments that you can jump ship and it's fine. It's like almost making an example out of you that like you must endure. And like, I hate that. Like, the HR person was actually like, on the surface, she seemed very professional, but like she should have just told me there's no way that you're going to get hired for any of these things. She would just see my applications come in. She wouldn't even like interview me. And some of them were just like in entry-level positions in any other department than mine, just to like make a lateral move, because I hated mine. And I still wanted to be within the company. I still wanted the benefits of having like a bigger company behind me as far as paying my salary and getting all those things that I tried to set up for my future self. I still wanted that. I wasn't going to give up on that. But like, my happiness was just getting ruined every single day. And I hated my life. I didn't even hate my life that bad when I was like getting beat on by like people who were a little bit crazy, like at the state hospital. Like, I could deal with that, and I just saw no end to this. If I like put a lot of effort into this, I just saw myself being pigeonholed into it. There was no upward mobility. There was like, it was just, and I'm talking about upward mobility for the future, because what I saw was people being in this department for a very long time. And yes, they did hire from within, but you had to be there for like freaking years. So I just saw 2 or 3 years, maybe even 5 years being in this department, trying to prove my worth to somebody so that I could go into the other departments. But I'm just like, why would I do that? That seems like insane, to be unhappy for 3 or 5 years so I can make a tiny bit more money in a different department. What have I done with myself? Like, it just seemed really backwards and stupid. And I was a little fish in a bigger pond, but like the pond was like toxic and weird, and I wasn't even like shown where to swim. It was like real weird, and people still didn't really like me. And so it was just like an uphill battle that I didn't want to battle. It was not worth battling. And had I been passionate about what I was doing, fine, I would have fought all of that and just like, you know, zipped my mouth and, you know, done whatever. But so by the time that I like came in and I told my dad the day before, like, hey, I'm sorry, he's just like, okay, if this is what you're gonna do. He was like behind me, but I think he was like disappointed in me, but like he was still behind me, because, you know, we're from a poor area, and like once you get a good job, you know, you just have to be thankful, right? And like, there's a lot of sacrifices that go on in poor areas for just having some money. And it's like, well, here I am just kind of like willy-nilly trying to like sabotage my whole thing. But it's like, in my head, this is all backwards. Why do I have to why do I have to sacrifice my happiness for a paycheck? Like, I understand if I had like 5 kids and I just had to, but it's just me. And like, I'm just disappointing my dad. And the reason why I don't talk about my mom is because my mom is not in the picture. So like, if I'm only just talking about my dad, that's why. He's my only parent that I've ever really had that I can either disappoint or make proud. So whenever I reference, oh, my dad, that's just, you know, what most people would be like my parents. That's why I say just my dad, for people that don't know, like my mom's situation. I don't really want to talk about it now, but yeah, just so you know. So I was disappointed in my dad, but I was just like, you know what? I hate this. It's making me unhealthy in every way. And I made a mistake. I should never have left my other place for this. And I tried to get my old job back. They were just like, well, we replaced you. And so I kind of learned very quickly from that. It's like, you thought that you were too big for this small little company, and look what you've done with your choices. Like, it's like definitely like tucking your tail behind your legs and like walking back with your like the walk of shame. Because you have no more bargaining power, because you've already left and they've already replaced you and you're not needed anymore. So you're not in a very good spot. So I quit. I didn't have unemployment, because when you quit like that, you don't get unemployment. And so that's when I really had to like figure out what I was doing. And then I think that was when it became really difficult. So my dad was like, okay, I'll just, you know, work to get you some more stuff for eBay. And I'll just, you know, I'll support you with like what I can, but just work to like find a different situation where you can be happier but be paid more. And so I quit, and I didn't have any other idea of what to do. I needed to quit. I could not stand that much longer, because they were going to like train me up for however many hours that they needed, and I was going to be alone on the phones by myself with all this anxiety, and it was just like real not great for me. I picked the worst type of job for me that just enhances all of my insecurities and inabilities to like learn in this way, and just for failure, even though I could handle all the other things that they gave me on my special tasks. Like, I could handle that and it was fine. Like, I loved it. But when it's like outside of what I was even remotely comfortable with, like it was just doomed for failure. So I wanted to quit before they put me on full time. So there was no time to like go get another job. I was like, I can't be by myself. I can't like be on the phones, like taking these calls from the queue and like being responsible like legally for like the crap that I say that I know I don't know, right? And so it was really hard. And so I felt like I was backed into a really big corner because of my decisions that I'd made. But I thought I was making really good decisions. Do you see that? I thought I was doing a good thing for myself, and I was just creating more problems for myself. But looking back, that was one of the main instances that I was like, you know what? You are not good in this type of environment. So if you want to be a successful person, you either need to go back to smaller companies and just deal with the chaos that comes with a smaller company, because there's not a lot of stability, because most of them are kind of like startup-y, and there's like risk versus reward with like a smaller company, but they don't have the stability of a bigger company. But I can't stand the bigger companies. Like, I can't stand the mentality. I can't stand the cutthroatness. I can't stand the cattiness. I can't stand all of the things that you're supposed to learn as far as like clawing your like coworkers' eyes out passive aggressively. Like, I don't like that. I don't enjoy that. So it was either work for the company that I'd recently quit, and that was not an option because they said no. I did ask them, and that was really embarrassing. Or find a new, entirely new industry to work in. And that's why my resume has so many different industries, like bakery, like office work, travel. It was because I, like, in this small state that I was in, it wasn't like you work here and then you progress to here and it's like a known path, right? There's like not that many big companies, and so not a lot of people hashed out like a progressive way to do things. You started this little company, and most of the time this little company gets fed into this bigger company that they work with, right? Like there's nothing like that. So that's why people stay at their jobs once they get a good job for like 30 years, because it's just hard to get a job in that state that pays like any amount of money. And I'd previously had to like risk my life for like the money, and I wasn't about to risk like my like well-being and happiness. I'm not a person that deals with things like that has generalized anxiety or anxiety at all. And so when something is causing me this much stress and this much unhappiness, like I'd literally get stomach aches before I went into work. And I know that you guys have probably had one of these jobs where like that happens and you just hate it that much. But like I never had anything that like caused me this much stress. And so I listened to my body, even if everything else is like my bank account is telling me not to do this. My like disappointing eyes of my dad is telling me not to do this. I have to like listen to like, I am the one who has to live with my life, right? I am the one who has to like go in and do this and like deal with it like from a moral standpoint. Is this right to be doing with my life? I get one life. Why am I wasting it like this, being so unhappy? These are the questions that I would ask myself. And I'm just like, is money really this worth it? Like I have no other like safety net. My next move is not hedged. It's not good. And I don't know why I backed myself into this corner where I had to have this work out. And I don't know why I did that, but I thought I was doing the right move, but it was not the right move, as you can see. So I quit, and they were like, oh, I'm sorry to see you go. But I think they like saw this coming, like from like day one. So I think it was probably good for them too, because they didn't have to like train up this girl that was like, unknowingly making everything kind of like harder for them, because most of the time, like I said, people just listened and did a good job. But I don't know why I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do that. So anyways, it was not a good fit, and it was kind of like embarrassing, and I felt like really kind of like a letdown, because like, why couldn't I do this? Like I felt kind of like a loser. Here I am, I can do really complicated things within the system, like on like side project when nobody is like even explaining how to do it, I can do it. But like, why can't I do this? It like gives me so much anxiety. My brain doesn't work. I can't even do it. So I was failing at something that like people from way less experience and educational background could like do really well. And I just had like this mental block, and I just couldn't do it. And it made me really unhappy. And I was like, not that I was comparing myself to them, but I was just like, why can't I do this? And I later asked myself, like, why do I want to do this? And I saw no good coming from this. I know eventually I could have made friends, and I know eventually like I could have like gained respect from people, but I didn't see that anytime soon, and like it was already not good. And it wasn't so much money that like I really 100% needed to be there. So while I was gonna have to take a job somewhere else that was gonna pay me lower than this, like I at least knew my limits on like what I would sacrifice for money. So I'm a hard worker, and I'm a people pleaser, and I like to do things really well. And when I'm struggling this hard, it like makes me feel like a massive failure. And so I needed to recognize like what environment and what situation do I thrive in, and then go from there. I don't know without looking at my resume what I did directly after that, but we will talk about what I did after that in my next video. And it was a really hard time for me. It was a really like a down moment for me. Like riding on a high of like working your way out of a small company, being hired at a big company, to like fail at that big company, and then to see like why you fail at the big company. And then you're like, well, I still live in this state where like the only time that you can make good money is at bigger companies. And I'm like, oh, right? So it was either choose a path that leads you to money, totally different way that nobody else is doing here, or suck it up and get better at the bigger companies, and or find a smaller company that's not that insane, that will eventually pay you a lot more money. So there's like 3 options there, and we'll talk about which one I did in my next video. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next Friday. I think next Friday is very close to Thanksgiving. So 23rd, no, 24th. I'll have to see what day Thanksgiving is, but as far as I know right now, I'm still going to put up the Friday video, even if it's kind of like Black Friday. Maybe it will be Black Friday. I think it probably will actually. My video will still be up then, so I'll work hard to finish that up. Or maybe you guys have some requests now that I have put up enough videos that you have some questions. Maybe we could do a fun Q&A for Black Friday and just have like another pause in the whole career path story, because maybe these aren't fun for you. They're fun for me to like relive, so I can see like how I've gotten to like where I've gotten, but maybe they're not fun for you. So if you want something a little bit more fun for Black Friday, let me know, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.